Sarah's hands were tight on the steering wheel. Her old car made a strange noise as it moved down the long, empty road. The sun was hot and bright above them. It was the kind of heat that made everything look wavy in the distance. She looked in the small mirror and saw her daughter Emma sitting in the back seat. Emma was 8 years old. She had special equipment to help her sit safely in the car. Emma could not move her body the way other children could. She had cerebral palsy. This meant her muscles did not work right. But Emma's mind was sharp and her heart was kind. They had been driving for 3 hours already. They still had 2 more hours to go. Emma had a doctor appointment in Phoenix. This doctor was special. He knew how to help children like Emma. Sarah took Emma to see him every few months. The trips were long and hard, but Sarah would do anything for her daughter. The car made another bad sound. This time it was louder. Sarah felt her stomach get tight with worry. The little light on the dashboard started to blink. It was the engine light. Sarah knew this was bad news. She did not have much money. Every dollar she earned went to pay for rent, food, and Emma's medical needs. She could not afford to fix the car if something was really wrong. "Please, not now," Sarah whispered to herself. "Please just keep going," but the car did not listen. It started to slow down. Sarah pressed on the gas pedal, but nothing happened. The engine was getting weaker and weaker. She had no choice. She had to pull over to the side of the road. Sarah looked around. There was nothing out here, just sand, rocks, and small brown bushes. The road stretched out in both directions with no end in sight. She had not seen another car in almost 30 minutes. The desert was big and empty and silent. She turned off the engine and sat very still for a moment. Her heart was beating fast. She felt scared, but she did not want Emma to see her fear. She took a deep breath and turned around to look at her daughter. "Mama, the car stopped," Emma said. Her words came out slowly. It was hard for her to speak, but she always tried her best. "Yes, baby, the car is having some trouble, but don't worry. Mama will fix it," Sarah said. She tried to sound calm and sure, even though she felt neither of those things. Sarah opened her door and stepped out into the heat. It hit her like a wall. The sun was so bright it hurt her eyes. She walked to the front of the car and lifted the hood. Steam came out and she jumped back. She waited a moment, then looked at the engine. Sarah knew nothing about car engines. She could see lots of metal parts and wires and hoses, but she had no idea what any of them did. She touched a few things carefully, hoping something would look obviously broken. Nothing did. She pulled out her phone from her pocket. No signal. She held it up high and walked a few steps in different directions. Still no signal. Out here in the desert, she was too far from any cell towers. She could not call for help. She could not even tell the doctor they would be late for the appointment. Sarah felt panic rising in her chest. She was alone with her disabled daughter in the middle of the desert. The car was broken. She had no phone signal. She looked up and down the road, hoping to see another car coming. The road was empty. She got back in the car and checked on Emma. The inside of the car was already getting hot. Sarah turned the key and tried to start the engine one more time. It made a grinding sound but would not start. She tried again. Nothing. The car was completely dead. "Are we stuck, Mama?" Emma asked. Her big brown eyes looked worried now. "Just for a little bit," Sarah said. "Someone will come by soon and help us." But Sarah was not sure this was true. They had not seen many cars on this road, and the ones that did pass might not stop. People were afraid to stop for strangers these days, especially out in the middle of nowhere. Sarah looked at their supplies. She had a small cooler in the back with some snacks and drinks. There was half a bottle of water left. In this heat, that would not last long. She also had Emma's medical bag with her medicines and equipment. She always carried that everywhere they went. The temperature was rising fast inside the car. Sarah opened all the doors to let air flow through, but the air outside was just as hot. She looked at her watch. It was 2 in the afternoon, the hottest part of the day. This was dangerous. Emma got overheated easily because of her condition. They could not sit in this car for very long. 20 minutes passed. No cars came. Sarah walked out to the road and looked both ways again. Empty. The desert stretched out forever in all directions, hills and rocks and sand. The sky was clear blue with no clouds. There would be no rain, no relief from the heat. Sarah thought about their options. She could try to walk back to the last town they had passed, but that was at least 15 miles away, maybe more. She could never walk that far in this heat, and she certainly could not carry Emma that far. Emma could not walk on her own. Her legs did not work right. She used a wheelchair at home and at school. Another 30 minutes passed. Sarah's shirt was soaked with sweat. Emma's face was red from the heat. Sarah gave her small sips of water and wiped her face with a damp cloth. She was trying so hard not to cry, not to show Emma how scared she really was. Then finally, Sarah saw something in the distance. A car was coming. She ran out into the road and waved her arms over her head. The car got closer. Sarah waved harder. Please stop, she thought. Please see us and stop. But the car drove right past them. The driver did not even slow down. Sarah stood in the road watching the car disappear. Her arms dropped to her sides. Tears filled her eyes. Why didn't they stop? Couldn't they see she needed help? She walked back to Emma, trying to hide her tears. Emma was watching her with those knowing eyes. Sometimes Sarah thought her daughter understood more than she let on. Emma could not always say what she was thinking, but she felt things deeply. She knew when her mother was sad or scared. It's okay, Mama, Emma said quietly. Someone will help us. Sarah wanted to believe her. She sat in the driver's seat with the door open, watching the road. Another hour passed. One more car came by. Sarah waved again. This car also drove past without stopping. Sarah felt anger now mixed with her fear. How could people just drive by? Couldn't they see a woman and child stranded in the desert? The sun was lower in the sky now, but it was still very hot. Sarah checked on Emma again. Her daughter seemed calm, much calmer than Sarah felt. Emma was looking out at the desert, her eyes focused on something in the distance. Sarah followed her gaze but saw nothing special. Just more desert, more rocks, more emptiness. But Emma kept looking in that direction. There was something in her expression that Sarah had seen before. A kind of knowing. Emma had always been like this, even as a baby. She seemed to sense things that others could not see. Doctors said it was just coincidence, but Sarah was not so sure. A mother knows her child, and Sarah knew that when Emma looked at something that way, she was seeing something important. Sarah just did not know what it was yet. Sarah tried her phone again. She held it up as high as she could reach. Still no signal. She walked 20 feet away from the car in different directions, watching the screen. Nothing, not even one bar. They were too far from everything. Too far from help. She looked at Emma through the open car door. Her daughter was still staring out at the desert. Emma's face was peaceful, which made no sense. They were stranded in the middle of nowhere with a broken car and no way to call for help. How could Emma be so calm? Sarah walked back to the car and sat down. She took another small sip of water. They had to save what little they had. She did not know how long they would be stuck here. The bottle was getting lighter. Soon it would be empty. The heat was getting worse. Sarah could feel it pressing down on her from all sides. The metal of the car was too hot to touch. The seats burned through their clothes. She moved Emma to the shady side of the car and made her sit on a blanket on the ground. It was not much better, but at least Emma was out of the direct sun. Sarah looked under the hood again. She did not know what she was looking for. She touched some wires and checked some caps. Everything looked connected. She could not see any obvious problem. Not that it mattered. Even if she knew what was broken, she did not know how to fix it. She had never learned about cars. She had never had time to learn. She was too busy working 2 jobs to pay the bills and taking care of Emma. Time moved slowly in the desert. Sarah kept checking her watch. 3 o'clock. 3:30? 4 o'clock. The sun was still high and hot. No more cars had passed. The road remained empty in both directions. It was like they were the last people on Earth. Sarah thought about Emma's appointment. They were supposed to be there at 5 o'clock. Now they would miss it. It had taken Sarah 3 months to get this appointment. The doctor was always busy. He had patients who came from all over the state. When would she be able to reschedule? And how would they even get there with a broken car? She felt tears coming again. She tried to stop them but could not. Everything was too hard. Every single day was a struggle. Getting Emma ready in the morning took 2 hours. Lifting her, dressing her, feeding her, giving her medicine. Then there was work. Sarah cleaned houses for a living. She scrubbed floors and toilets and kitchens. Her back hurt all the time. Her hands were rough and red from chemicals. But it was the only job she could do that let her set her own hours. She needed flexible hours for all of Emma's appointments and therapy sessions. Money was always tight. Always. Sarah cut coupons and bought the cheapest food. She wore the same old clothes year after year. She never bought anything for herself. Everything went to Emma: medicine, equipment, doctor visits. Even with insurance, the costs never stopped. Sarah was drowning in medical bills. She got letters every week demanding payment. She paid what she could and ignored the rest. What else could she do? And now the car was broken. Sarah did not have money to fix it. She did not even have money to tow it somewhere. This car was 14 years old. She had bought it used with money she saved for 2 years. It had problems before, but she always managed to keep it running. She changed the oil herself. She added fluids when the levels got low. But this time it seemed like something big was wrong. Something she could not fix on her own. Sarah wiped her eyes and looked at Emma. Her daughter was watching her now. Emma's face showed concern. Sarah tried to smile, but it came out wrong. More like a grimace. "I'm okay, baby," Sarah said. "Mama's just a little worried about the car." "Someone will come," Emma said again. Her voice was soft but sure. "I hope so," Sarah whispered. Another hour passed. The sun was finally starting to move lower in the sky. Soon it would be evening. Sarah knew that was good and bad. Good because the temperature would drop. Bad because darkness was coming. What would they do when it got dark? They could not stay in the car all night. The desert got very cold at night. Emma would freeze. Sarah stood up and walked to the edge of the road again. She looked in both directions. Still empty. Still nothing. The silence was so complete it made her ears ring. No birds. No insects, no wind. Just silence and heat and emptiness. She thought about trying to walk for help. Maybe she could find a house or a gas station. But she could not leave Emma alone. And she could not carry Emma very far. Even though Emma was small for her age, she was still too heavy to carry for miles. And Emma's wheelchair was too big and heavy to push across the rocky desert ground. They were trapped. That was the truth. Trapped and helpless and alone. Sarah heard a sound and her heart jumped. Was it a car? She ran to the middle of the road. Yes, a vehicle was coming from the direction they had been traveling. It was a big truck. Sarah waved her arms frantically. She jumped up and down. She shouted even though the truck was too far away to hear her. "Please stop," she prayed. "Please, please stop." The truck got closer. Sarah could see the driver now. A man wearing sunglasses. She waved harder. She stood right in his lane so he would have to stop or drive around her. The truck slowed down a little. For a moment, Sarah thought he would stop. But then the truck moved into the other lane and drove past her. The driver never even looked at her. He just kept going. Sarah stood in the road watching the truck disappear. She felt something break inside her. That was the third vehicle to pass without stopping. 3 chances for help, and all 3 had driven by like she did not exist. Like she and Emma did not matter. She walked back to where Emma sat on the blanket. Sarah dropped down beside her daughter and put her face in her hands. She could not hold back the tears anymore. They came hard and fast. Her whole body shook with sobs. Emma reached out and touched her mother's arm. Her hand was small and warm. Sarah looked up at her daughter through her tears. "Don't cry, Mama," Emma said. Look, Emma was pointing again. Pointing at the same place in the desert that she had been staring at for the past hour. Sarah wiped her eyes and looked. She saw nothing. Just rocks and sand and those twisted little trees that grew in the desert. "What is it, baby? What do you see?" Sarah asked. "There," Emma said. She pointed more firmly. "Help is there." Sarah looked harder. She saw absolutely nothing. No houses, no buildings. No people, nothing. Emma must be confused. The heat was making her see things that were not there. "There's nothing there, sweetheart," Sarah said gently. "It's just desert," but Emma shook her head. She pointed again with more urgency. "There, Mama, we need to go there." Sarah felt frustrated. She was hot and scared and tired. She did not have the energy to argue with Emma about imaginary things in the desert. But then she looked at her daughter's face. Emma was not confused. Emma was not seeing things. Emma was absolutely certain about what she was telling her mother. Sarah had learned over the years to trust Emma's instincts. Emma could not always explain what she knew or how she knew it, but she was often right about things. She would refuse to go into certain buildings, and later Sarah would find out the building had mold or bad air. She would insist on taking a different route home, and they would avoid traffic accidents. Emma just knew things somehow, but this seemed crazy. Emma wanted them to walk out into the desert toward nothing. They could get lost. They could die out there. It was dangerous. Sarah looked at the road one more time. Still empty. The sun was getting lower. They had maybe 2 hours of daylight left. No one was coming to help them. She had tried everything she could think of. Her phone did not work. The car would not start. No one would stop. Maybe Emma was right. Maybe there was something out there that Sarah could not see. What choice did she have? They could not stay here all night. Emma would get too cold, and if no cars had stopped during the day, why would any stop at night? Sarah made a decision. It felt crazy, but she was out of options. She would walk in the direction Emma was pointing. Just for a little while, just to see if there was anything there. If she found nothing in 15 minutes, she would come back to the car. Okay, Sarah said to Emma. We'll go look, but we can't go far, and we have to stay where we can see the car. Emma smiled. It was the first smile Sarah had seen on her daughter's face in hours. That smile gave Sarah a tiny bit of hope. Maybe, just maybe, Emma knew something she did not. Sarah looked at the desert where Emma was pointing. It looked like every other part of the desert around them. Dry, empty, hot. She could not see anything special about it. But Emma's eyes were locked on that direction. Her daughter had not looked away from that spot for over an hour now. You really think there's something out there? Sarah asked. Emma nodded. Her face was serious. Yes, Mama, we need to go there. Someone is there who can help us. Sarah felt a chill despite the heat. How could Emma know someone was out there? They could not see anything from here. No buildings, no smoke from a fire, no signs of life at all. Yet Emma spoke with such certainty, like she could see something that Sarah's eyes could not. This was not the first time Emma had known things she should not know. When Emma was 4 years old, she had refused to let Sarah's friend drive them home from the hospital. Emma had cried and cried. Sarah thought it was just tiredness, but Emma kept saying, no, no, no. Finally, Sarah called a taxi instead. Later that night, they learned that Sarah's friend had fallen asleep at the wheel on her drive home. She crashed her car into a tree. She survived, but she was badly hurt. If Emma had been in that car, she might have died. There were other times, too. Emma would tell Sarah to check on their neighbor. Sarah would go knock on the door and find the old woman had fallen and needed help. Emma would refuse to eat certain foods, and later Sarah would discover they had been recalled for safety reasons. Emma just knew things. The doctor said it was coincidence. They said children sometimes make lucky guesses, but it happened too often to be luck. Sarah looked at their situation. They were stuck. Truly stuck. The car was dead. No one was stopping to help. Emma was getting weak from the heat. They only had a little water left. Night was coming. What choice did they have but to try Emma's suggestion? All right, Sarah said, but we need to be smart about this. I'm going to walk over there first by myself. You stay here in the shade. I'll keep the car in sight the whole time. If I don't find anything in 15 minutes, I'll come back. Okay, Emma frowned. I need to come with you. Baby, it's too far to walk. You can't walk that far. Emma could walk a little bit with help, but only for short distances. Her legs were weak and her balance was poor. Walking across rough desert ground would be impossible for her. I can try, Emma said. There was something in her voice, determination, strength. Emma had always been a fighter. Her whole life had been hard, but she never gave up. She never complained. She worked harder than any child should have to work just to do simple things like sit up or hold a spoon. Sarah felt torn. Taking Emma out into the desert was dangerous, but leaving her alone by the car was also dangerous. What if Sarah got hurt out there? What if she could not find her way back? Emma would be alone with no way to get help. At least if they stayed together, they would face whatever came together. Okay, Sarah said finally. We'll go together, but we have to go slow and careful. Sarah gathered their things. She took the last bottle of water. She took Emma's medical bag. She took a flashlight even though the batteries were weak. She took a blanket. She looked at all the other stuff in the car and decided it was too heavy to carry. She made a marker so they could find their way back. She took a red scarf from the car and tied it to the antenna so it would blow in the wind. The bright red would be easy to see from far away. She also used rocks to make an arrow on the ground pointing in the direction they were going. Then she helped Emma stand up. Emma's legs shook as she put weight on them. Sarah wrapped one arm around Emma's waist and let Emma lean on her. Emma put her arm around Sarah's shoulders. Together, they started walking slowly toward the direction Emma had pointed. The ground was rough. Small rocks rolled under their feet. Emma stumbled several times, but Sarah held her up. They moved slowly, very slowly. Every few steps, Emma had to rest. Sarah's back was already hurting from holding Emma up. They had only gone about 50 feet and Sarah was already tired. "Do you still think we should go this way?" Sarah asked. Emma nodded. She was breathing hard from the effort of walking, but her eyes were still focused ahead. "Yes, keep going." They walked for another 5 minutes. Sarah kept looking back at the car. It was still visible, but it was getting smaller. They were farther from the road than Sarah had planned to go. She was about to suggest turning back when Emma suddenly said, "There." Sarah looked where Emma was pointing. At first, she saw nothing. Then she noticed it. Between two large rocks, there was a gap. It looked like it might be a path. Or maybe just a natural break in the rocks. Sarah squinted. Was that a trail? They moved closer. Yes, it was definitely a path. Not a natural path. Someone had made this. Sarah could see where rocks had been moved aside. She could see faint footprints in the sandy dirt. Someone had walked this way. Recently. Sarah's heart started beating faster. Where did this path go? Who made it? Was it safe to follow? Emma pulled on Sarah's shirt. "This way, Mama, this is right." Sarah looked back at their car. It was still visible, but just barely. If they followed this path, they might lose sight of the car. They might get lost. But Emma was so sure. And Sarah had already come this far. She had already decided to trust her daughter's instincts. "Okay," Sarah said. "But we stay together. And if this path doesn't lead anywhere soon, we turn back. Deal?" "Deal," Emma said. They followed the path between the rocks. The rocks were tall on both sides, creating a kind of hallway. It was cooler here in the shade of the rocks. The path curved and twisted. Sarah could not see very far ahead. She kept looking back, trying to remember the way so they could find their way back to the car. They walked for what felt like a long time. In reality, it was probably only 5 minutes. But carrying Emma and walking on the rough path made it feel much longer. Sarah's arms were shaking with effort. Her legs hurt. Her back hurt. Sweat poured down her face. Just when Sarah was about to say they needed to turn back, the path opened up. They came around a large rock and suddenly they were in a small clearing. And there, built right into the hillside, was a tiny cabin. Sarah stopped walking. She stared. She could not believe what she was seeing. A house out here in the middle of nowhere. A real house. It was small and old-looking. The wood was weathered gray from the sun, but it had a roof and walls and a door. And on the roof, Sarah could see solar panels catching the last rays of the afternoon sun. Someone lived here. Someone actually lived in this hidden place in the desert. Sarah felt a wave of relief so strong it made her knees weak. They had found help. Emma had been right. There was someone here, but then a new feeling replaced the relief. Fear. Who would live out here all alone? Why would someone hide their house like this? Were they dangerous? Was Sarah putting Emma in more danger by coming here? She looked down at Emma. Her daughter was smiling. Not scared at all. Emma was looking at the cabin like she had known it would be here all along. "See, Mama? I told you," Emma said. Sarah did not know what to do. Should they knock on the door? Should they turn back and try to make it back to the car? The sun was getting low. They did not have much time. Emma needed water. Emma needed rest. Emma needed help. Sarah took a deep breath. She had come this far. She had to try. She walked slowly toward the cabin, supporting Emma with each step. She could see there was a small garden beside the house. Vegetables growing in neat rows. Someone took care of this place. Someone lived here and grew food here. She could also see there were wind chimes hanging near the door. They made soft sounds in the slight breeze. There was a chair on the small porch. A pair of work boots sat beside the door. Small signs that a person lived here. A real person who might be able to help them. Sarah reached the porch steps. There were only 3 steps, but they looked steep for Emma. Sarah helped Emma up 1 step at a time. Emma was breathing hard. She was tired. They had walked further than Emma usually walked in a whole week. They reached the door. It was painted blue, though the paint was old and peeling. Sarah raised her hand to knock. Her hand was shaking. She was scared and hopeful and desperate all at once. She knocked 3 times. The sound echoed in the quiet desert. For a moment, nothing happened. Sarah knocked again, harder this time. She heard movement inside the cabin. Footsteps. Someone was home. Someone was coming to the door. Sarah held Emma closer. The door handle turned. The door opened slowly. A man stood there looking at them. He was older, maybe in his 60s. He had gray hair and a gray beard. He wore old jeans and a faded blue shirt. His face was tanned and lined from years in the sun, but it was his eyes that Sarah noticed most. They were hard, cold, not welcoming at all. The man looked at Sarah. Then he looked at Emma. His expression did not change. He did not smile. He did not look concerned or helpful. He just looked annoyed that someone had disturbed him. "Yes?" he said. His voice was rough, like he did not use it very often. Sarah's mouth was suddenly dry. She tried to speak, but no words came out. This man did not look like he wanted to help. He looked like he wanted them to leave. Emma had led them here, but had Emma been wrong? Was this man going to turn them away? Sarah finally found her voice. "I'm sorry to bother you. Our car broke down on the road. My daughter and we need help, please." The man's eyes moved from Sarah to Emma and back again. His face showed nothing. No kindness. No concern. Just a blank, hard stare. For a long moment, he said nothing. Sarah's hope began to fade. He was going to tell them to leave. She could see it in his expression. "The road is that way," the man said, pointing back the way they had come. "You shouldn't be here. This is private property." "Please," Sarah said again. Her voice cracked. "We've been stranded for hours. Nobody will stop to help us. I have no cell phone signal. I don't know anything about fixing cars. My daughter needs water and rest. Please, we just need to use your phone. Or maybe you could look at our car. I can pay you. Not much, but something." The man's jaw tightened. He looked angry now. "I don't want your money. I don't want company. I moved out here to get away from people. You need to leave." Sarah felt tears burning in her eyes. She had walked all this way. Emma had been so sure, and now this man was turning them away. She did not know what to do. She could not carry Emma back to the car. She was too tired, and it would be dark soon. "Please," Sarah whispered. "Just let us use your phone. Then we'll go." "I promise." The man started to close the door, but then Emma spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. "I'm Emma. What's your name?" The man stopped. He looked down at Emma, really looked at her for the first time. He saw her thin legs, her crooked posture, the way she leaned on her mother for support. His expression changed slightly. Just a flicker of something, maybe surprise, maybe recognition of Emma's disability. "That's not your concern," he said, but his voice was less harsh than before. "I can't walk very good," Emma said. "My legs don't work right. Mama had to help me walk all the way here. We're very tired and very thirsty. Do you have water?" The man's face twitched. Sarah could see him struggling with something inside himself. He did not want to help. That much was clear, but he could not quite bring himself to turn away a disabled child who was asking for water. "Wait here," he said finally. He closed the door. Sarah heard him walking around inside. A minute later, he opened the door again. He had a large bottle of water in his hand. He held it out to Sarah. "Take this and go." Emma spoke again before Sarah could take the water. "Do you live here all by yourself?" "That's none of your business," the man said. "It must be lonely," Emma said. "Don't you miss talking to people?" "No," the man said flatly. "That's why I live out here, so I don't have to talk to people." Sarah took the water bottle. "Thank you. We appreciate this. But please, is there any way you could help us with our car? Or at least let me use your phone to call a tow truck?" The man sighed. It was a long, tired sigh. "Where's your car?" "On the highway. About a quarter mile that way." Sarah pointed back toward the road. "What's wrong with it?" "I don't know. The engine light came on. Then it just stopped. It won't start again. I tried several times." The man looked at the sky. The sun was getting close to the hills. It would be dark in less than an hour. He looked at Emma again, then at Sarah. Sarah could see the battle happening behind his eyes. He did not want to help, but something was making him reconsider. Maybe it was Emma. Maybe it was the simple fact that they were in real danger out here. "I'll go look at it," he said finally. "But that's all. I look at the car. If I can fix it, I fix it. If I can't, you'll have to call a tow truck from town. There's a phone inside you can use." "Thank you so much," Sarah said. Relief washed over her. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I might not be able to fix it." He stepped out onto the porch and closed the door behind him. "Stay here. I'll be back." "Wait," Sarah said. "Can my daughter rest inside? She's very tired. And it's cooler inside." The man looked annoyed again. "Fine, but don't touch anything." He opened the door and stepped aside. Sarah helped Emma into the cabin. It was small inside. One main room that served as kitchen and living area. Sarah could see a bedroom door on one side and a bathroom door on the other. The cabin was neat and clean. Simple furniture. No decorations. No pictures on the walls. Nothing personal at all. It looked like a place where someone lived but did not really make a home. The man pointed to a couch. "Sit there. I'll be back in a while." He left before Sarah could say anything else. The door closed behind him with a solid thunk. Sarah heard his footsteps on the porch. Then silence. Sarah helped Emma sit on the couch. She opened the water bottle and gave Emma a long drink. Then she drank some herself. The water was cool and clean. It was the best water Sarah had ever tasted. She had not realized how thirsty she was until that moment. Emma looked around the cabin with curious eyes. "He's sad," she said. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked the man. "He's very sad. That's why he lives alone." Sarah looked around the cabin again. Now that Emma said it, Sarah could see it too. This was not the home of someone who was happy. There was nothing warm about it. Nothing welcoming. It was more like a hiding place than a home. "Maybe," Sarah said. "But he's helping us. That's what matters." They waited. Sarah looked at her watch. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Emma dozed off on the couch, her head resting on Sarah's shoulder. Sarah sat very still, not wanting to wake her. The cabin was quiet. Sarah could hear the wind chimes outside. A clock ticking on the wall. Nothing else. Sarah studied the cabin more closely. There was a small kitchen area with a stove, a sink, and a refrigerator. All old but clean. There was a table with one chair, just one, because only one person lived here. There were books on a shelf, mostly books about plants and mechanical things. There was a woodworking area in one corner with tools hung neatly on the wall. Sarah could see small carved animals on a shelf, birds mostly. They were beautiful, detailed. Someone had spent hours making them. This man was skilled, talented. But he was hiding out here in the desert, away from everyone. Why? What had happened to make him choose such a lonely life? Sarah heard footsteps on the porch. The door opened. The man came in. His hands were dirty with grease. His shirt had black marks on it. He went to the sink and washed his hands. "Well?" Sarah asked quietly, trying not to wake Emma. The man dried his hands on a towel. He turned to face her. His expression was not good. "Your radiator hose is cracked. The engine overheated. That's why it stopped. I added water and it started up again. But that hose needs to be replaced. If you drive it like that, the engine will overheat again. Could cause permanent damage." Sarah felt her heart sink.
"Can you replace the hose?"
"Not today. I don't have the right size. I'd have to order it. Would take a few days to get it delivered out here." "A few days." Sarah's voice came out higher than she meant. "I can't wait a few days. My daughter has a doctor appointment. I have to work. I have bills to pay." The man shrugged. "Then you'll have to risk driving it. Add water every hour or so. Keep the heater on full blast even though it's hot outside. That will pull heat away from the engine. Drive slow. You might make it to Phoenix, or you might not. Engine might give out completely. But that's your choice." Sarah felt panic rising. She could not afford to ruin the engine. But she also could not stay in the desert for days. She had no money for a hotel. She had nowhere to go. "What if I have it towed to a shop in town?" she asked. "That'll cost you maybe $300 just for the tow. Then whatever the shop charges to fix it, probably another $200 or $300. You got that kind of money?" Sarah's silence was his answer. She did not have that money. She barely had enough money to buy food for the next 2 weeks. The man sighed again. He looked at Emma sleeping on his couch. He looked at Sarah's desperate face. Something in his expression shifted. "Look," he said, "I can fix it properly, but like I said, I need to order the part. Takes 2 days to get here, maybe 3. "I can't stay in the desert for 3 days, Sarah said. "I have nowhere to stay. I have no money for a hotel." The man was quiet for a long moment. He looked uncomfortable. Finally he spoke. "You can stay here. There's a spare room. It's not much, but it's got a bed. You and your daughter can stay until the part comes and I fix your car." Sarah stared at him. "Really? You would let us stay here?" "Don't make a big deal out of it," the man said gruffly. "It's just practical. Your daughter can't sleep in a car in the desert. You can't afford a hotel. This is the only option that makes sense. Thank you." Sarah said. Tears filled her eyes. Thank you so much. I don't even know your name, the man hesitated. He looked like he did not want to share even that much. It's James, he said finally. And before you ask, no, I don't want to talk about myself. You can stay here. I'll fix your car. Then you leave. That's the deal. Understood? Sarah nodded. Understood. James showed Sarah to the spare room. It was small and plain. Just a bed, a small dresser, and a window with simple curtains. But it was clean and cool. After being stuck in the hot car for hours, this room felt like luxury. Bathroom is across the hall, James said. There's towels in the cabinet. I'll make something to eat in about an hour. You don't have to feed us, Sarah said quickly. You've already done so much. You're here. You need to eat. I'm making food anyway. He said it like it was nothing, like he was annoyed to even discuss it. Then he left, closing the door behind him. Sarah carefully laid Emma on the bed. Her daughter barely stirred. Emma was exhausted from their ordeal. Sarah covered her with a light blanket and kissed her forehead. Then she sat on the edge of the bed and let herself cry quietly. The stress and fear of the day finally caught up with her. They were safe. For now, they were safe. After a few minutes, Sarah wiped her eyes and went to the bathroom to wash her face. She looked terrible. Her face was red from the sun. Her hair was wild. Her clothes were dusty and sweaty. But she felt better after washing up. She went back to check on Emma, still sleeping peacefully. Sarah left the door open a crack so she could hear if Emma woke up. Then she went to the main room. James was in the kitchen area. He was cutting vegetables on a wooden cutting board. He did not look up when Sarah entered. Is there anything I can do to help? Sarah asked. No. Are you sure? I don't want to be a burden. You're already a burden, James said bluntly. But there's nothing to be done about it now. Just sit down and stay out of my way. Sarah sat at the table. The one chair. She realized James would have to stand or bring in another chair. But she did not say anything. James did not seem like someone who appreciated comments about his furniture choices. She watched him cook. He moved efficiently like someone who had cooked alone for a long time. He did not waste motions. Did not hesitate. He knew exactly what he was doing. Sarah noticed his hands. They were scarred and rough. Working hands. Hands that had done hard labor. How long have you lived out here? Sarah asked, then immediately regretted it. He had said he did not want to talk about himself. Too long, James said. He did not elaborate. They sat in uncomfortable silence. Sarah did not know what to say. Thank you seemed inadequate. Small talk seemed wrong. So she said nothing. After a few minutes, Emma appeared in the doorway. She had woken up. She looked better after her nap. Less tired. She smiled when she saw Sarah. Hi, Mama. Hi, baby. Feeling better? Emma nodded. She looked at James. Hi. Thank you for letting us stay in your house. James glanced at her. You're welcome, he said stiffly. He went back to cooking. Emma moved slowly into the room. She held onto the wall for balance. She made her way to the couch and sat down. She looked around the cabin with open curiosity. Did you make those? Emma asked, pointing to the carved birds on the shelf. James looked where she was pointing. Yes, they're beautiful. How did you learn to carve like that? Practice. Can you teach me? James stopped what he was doing. He turned and looked at Emma. Really looked at her. You can't carve. Your hands don't work right. It was a cruel thing to say. Sarah opened her mouth to defend Emma, but Emma spoke first. My hands work okay. Not perfect, but okay. I can hold a pencil. I can feed myself. I bet I could hold a carving tool too. James studied her. Carving is dangerous. The tools are sharp. You could hurt yourself. I'm careful, Emma said. I've had to be careful my whole life. Something passed across James's face. An emotion Sarah could not quite read. He turned back to his cooking without answering Emma. But Sarah noticed his shoulders were tense. Emma's words had affected him somehow. Dinner was simple but good. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, and rice. James brought out 2 more chairs from somewhere. They ate in silence. Sarah tried to encourage conversation a few times, but James gave only short answers. Emma was the only one who seemed comfortable with the silence. She ate slowly and watched James with those knowing eyes of hers. After dinner, Sarah insisted on washing the dishes. James did not argue. He went outside to his workshop. Through the window, Sarah could see him working on something. Sanding a piece of wood. He's fixing something that's broken inside him, Emma said quietly. Sarah looked at her daughter. What do you mean? His heart is broken. That's why he hides out here. He's trying to fix it by himself. But you can't fix a broken heart by yourself. Sarah was amazed by Emma's insight. Her daughter was only 8 years old, but sometimes she understood people better than adults did. How do you know that? Sarah asked. Emma shrugged. I just know. Like I knew he was out here. Like I know you're scared about money and worried about me. I just know things sometimes. Sarah hugged her daughter. You're pretty special, you know that? So are you, Mama. That night, Sarah lay in the small bed with Emma beside her. The cabin was quiet. Sarah could hear the desert sounds outside. The wind, something small scurrying across the ground, an owl hooting far away. It was peaceful. Strange, but peaceful. Sarah thought about James. What had happened to make him so angry at the world? Why did he live alone in the desert? What was he running from? The next morning, Sarah woke to the smell of coffee. She got up carefully, not wanting to wake Emma. She found James in the kitchen. He had made coffee and was eating toast. There's coffee in the pot, he said without looking at her. Bread in that box if you want toast. Thank you. Sarah poured herself a cup of coffee. It was strong and hot. Perfect. She made toast for herself and Emma. I'm going into town later to order your car part, James said. I'll be gone a few hours. Can I give you money for it? Sarah asked. How much do you have? Sarah hesitated. Maybe $40. That's all I can spare, James snorted. The part costs $120. Keep your money. You'll need it for other things. I can't let you pay for it, Sarah protested. You don't have a choice. Unless you want to wait here until you can come up with the money, which might be never based on your situation. Sarah felt her face get hot. He was right, but it hurt to hear it said so plainly. I'll pay you back. I promise. It might take me a while, but I'll pay you back. Whatever, James said. He finished his coffee and stood up. I'm going to work on my truck before I leave. Stay inside. It's going to be hot today. He left. Sarah sat at the table drinking her coffee. She felt helpless. She hated being dependent on this stranger. She hated that she could not fix her own problems. She hated that she had to accept charity from a man who clearly did not want to give it. Emma woke up and joined her. Sarah made her breakfast and gave her medicine. Then they sat together on the couch. There was not much to do in the cabin. No television. No computer. Just books and quiet. Emma found a pencil and paper in a drawer. She started drawing. Sarah watched her daughter carefully sketch the outline of a bird. Even with her shaky hands, Emma's drawing was good. She had talent. James came back inside around noon. He was covered in dirt and grease. He washed up at the sink. Then he grabbed his keys. I'm leaving now. Should be back by 3 or 4. Don't touch anything while I'm gone. We won't, Sarah promised. There's food in the fridge if you get hungry. Help yourself. Then he was gone. They heard his truck start up. Heard it drive away. Then silence. Sarah and Emma were alone in the cabin. Sarah looked around. This was a sad place. It had everything a person needed to survive, but nothing that made a place feel like home. No warmth, no love, just empty space and quiet. We should do something nice for him, Emma said. Like what? I don't know. Something to say thank you. Something to make him smile. Sarah thought about it. What could they do? They had no money. They could not buy him anything. Then she had an idea. We could clean the cabin, she said. Really clean it? Make it shine, Emma smiled. That's a good idea. And I could make him a card, with one of his birds on it. They spent the afternoon cleaning. Sarah scrubbed the floors. She cleaned the windows. She dusted every surface. She organized the kitchen. Emma worked on her card, drawing careful pictures of birds. When James came home that evening, the cabin looked different. It was still simple and plain, but it was spotless. Everything gleamed. James stopped in the doorway. He looked around. His face showed surprise. What did you do? He asked. We cleaned, Sarah said. To thank you for everything. James did not say anything. He walked through the cabin slowly, looking at everything. His hand touched the clean counter. He looked at the shining windows. His face was unreadable. The part will be here day after tomorrow, he said finally. His voice sounded strange, thick. I'll fix your car the same day. You can leave the morning after that. Okay, Sarah said. Thank you, James nodded. He went to his room and closed the door. Sarah heard him moving around in there, then silence. Emma held up her card. I didn't get to give this to him. We'll give it to him tomorrow, Sarah said. But Sarah had seen something in James's face when he looked at the clean cabin. Something that looked almost like pain. Like the kindness they had shown him hurt somehow. Like he was not used to people caring about him. Like he did not know what to do with their gratitude. Sarah realized then how truly alone James was, and how much he was suffering in his isolation. The next morning, James was quieter than usual. He made breakfast but barely spoke. Sarah and Emma ate in silence. The tension in the air was thick. Sarah wondered if they had done something wrong by cleaning the cabin. Maybe James was angry that they had touched his things. After breakfast, James went outside to his workshop. Sarah cleaned up the dishes. Emma sat at the table with her card, adding more details to the birds she had drawn. Around mid-morning, Sarah heard a sound from the workshop. It sounded like something had fallen. She waited to hear if James would pick it up. Silence. Then she heard a strange sound. It took her a moment to recognize it. Someone crying. Sarah's first instinct was to go check on him, but she stopped herself. James was a private man. He would be embarrassed if she saw him crying. She should leave him alone. But what if he was hurt? What if something had fallen on him? Emma looked up from her card. He's sad today, she said. I know, Sarah said. We should talk to him. He doesn't want to talk, sweetheart. He wants to be alone. Nobody wants to be alone when they're sad, Emma said with simple wisdom. They just think they do. Emma got up from her chair. She moved slowly to the door. Sarah followed her, worried. Emma opened the door and went outside. Sarah had no choice but to follow. James was sitting on a bench in his workshop. His face was in his hands. His shoulders were shaking. He was definitely crying. When he heard them come in, he quickly wiped his face and stood up. He turned away from them. I'm fine, he said. His voice was rough. Go back inside. Emma walked over to him. She could not walk fast, so it took her a minute to cross the workshop. When she reached him, she put her small hand on his arm. It's okay to be sad, Emma said. Everybody gets sad sometimes. James looked down at her. His eyes were red. His face was wet with tears. He looked broken. You don't understand, he said. Tell me, Emma said. Maybe I will understand. James shook his head. I don't talk about it. Not to anyone. Why not? Because it hurts too much, Emma nodded. My legs hurt sometimes. Really bad. But Mama says talking about the hurt helps make it a little better, even if it doesn't make the hurt go away. James stared at her. Sarah could see him struggling. Part of him wanted to talk. Part of him wanted to push them away. He had kept his pain locked inside for so long, but Emma's simple honesty was breaking through his walls. My family died, James said suddenly. The words burst out of him like water from a broken dam. 5 years ago. My wife and my son. Car accident. Drunk driver hit them. They died instantly. The driver walked away without a scratch. Sarah put her hand over her mouth. I'm so sorry, she whispered. James continued. Now that he had started talking, he could not seem to stop. My son was 9 years old. Just a little older than you, he said to Emma. He was smart and funny. He loved building things with me. We were going to build a treehouse that summer. We had all the plans drawn up. We bought the wood, but we never got to build it. Tears were streaming down his face now. He did not try to hide them anymore. After they died, I couldn't function. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't stay in our house. Everything reminded me of them. People kept coming by, bringing food, trying to help, but I didn't want help. I wanted to be left alone. I wanted to stop feeling, so I sold everything. I took the insurance money and came out here. Built this cabin, stayed away from everyone. But you're still sad, Emma said softly. Every single day, James said. Every day I wake up and remember they're gone. And I can't fix it. I can fix cars and machines and broken things. But I can't fix this. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, My daddy left when I was a baby. He didn't want a child with problems. Mama doesn't talk about him much, but I know it makes her sad. She pretends she's okay, but sometimes at night I hear her crying. Sarah felt tears in her own eyes now. She did not know Emma had heard her crying. She thought she had been quiet. Life hurts sometimes, Emma continued. It hurts Mama, it hurts you. It hurts me too. My body doesn't work right. Kids at school stare at me. Some of them are mean. I can't run and play like they do. I'll never be normal. But I can't give up. Mama needs me, and I need her. We help each other with the hurt. James sat down heavily on the bench. Emma sat beside him, her short legs dangling above the ground. Sarah stood nearby, tears running down her face. "When you cleaned my cabin yesterday," James said, "it reminded me of how my wife used to clean. She would sing while she cleaned. The house always smelled like lemon cleaner. I haven't smelled that smell in 5 years. Yesterday, when I came home, for just a second I forgot. I thought she was here. Then I remembered, and it hurt all over again." "I'm sorry," Sarah said. "We were just trying to help." "I know," James said. "That's what made it hurt. You were being kind, and I'm not used to kindness anymore. I don't deserve it." "Yes, you do," Emma said firmly. "You helped us when we needed help, even though you didn't want to. Even though you wanted us to go away, you still helped. That makes you a good person." James looked at Emma. "I'm not good. I've been angry for 5 years. Angry at the drunk driver, angry at God, angry at the world. I came out here to hide from all of it." "But you can't hide from sad feelings," Emma said. "They follow you wherever you go. Trust me, I know. I tried to hide from my feelings about my legs, but they were still there. Mama taught me that it's better to feel the feelings and talk about them, even when it hurts," and Sarah spoke up. "Emma's right. I know we're strangers, and I know you didn't ask for us to be here, but maybe we were meant to find you. Maybe Emma knew you needed someone to talk to." James looked at Sarah. "How do you do it? Raise a child alone? Deal with all her medical needs? Work and pay bills and keep going? Aren't you angry?" "Sometimes," Sarah admitted. "Sometimes I'm so angry I want to scream. Angry at Emma's father for leaving. Angry at how hard everything is. Angry that I can't give Emma everything she needs. But anger doesn't pay the bills. Anger doesn't help Emma, so I push it down and keep going." "That's not healthy," James said. "I know," Sarah said. "But what choice do I have? I'm all Emma has. I can't fall apart." "You fell apart a little in the desert," James said, "when your car broke down. I could see it on your face when you got here. You were terrified," Sarah nodded. "I was. I thought we might die out there. I thought I had failed Emma, that I couldn't even keep her safe." "But you kept going," James said. "You trusted Emma's instincts. You walked through the desert even though you were scared. You found help. That takes courage. I didn't have a choice." "We always have a choice," James said. "I chose to hide. You chose to keep fighting. That's the difference between us." They sat in silence for a few minutes. The workshop was quiet except for the sound of wind chimes outside. Finally, Emma held out her card. "I made this for you." James took it. He looked at the drawing of birds. Emma had drawn 3 birds sitting together on a branch. Under it, she had written in shaky letters, "Thank you for helping us. From Emma and Mama." James stared at the card for a long time. When he looked up, his eyes were wet again. "This is beautiful. Thank you. Will you teach me to carve?" Emma asked him. "Please? I really want to learn." James hesitated. "It's hard and dangerous." "I'm not afraid of hard things," Emma said. "I do hard things every day." James smiled. It was a small smile, but it was the first smile Sarah had seen on his face. "Okay, I'll teach you. But we start with something safe. Soft wood and dull tools, and your mother has to be there the whole time." "Deal," Emma said, smiling back at him. That afternoon, James brought soft wood and child-safe carving tools. He sat with Emma at his workbench. Sarah watched as he patiently showed Emma how to hold the tool, how to carve with the grain of the wood, how to make small, careful cuts. Emma's hands shook. She dropped the tool several times, but she did not give up. James was patient. He did not rush her. He did not grab the tool and do it himself. He let her struggle and learn. "Like this?" Emma asked, making a cut. "Yes, that's good. Now do another one just like it." Sarah watched them work together. She saw something change in James. He was teaching, helping, being useful. For the first time since they arrived, he did not look lost. He looked like he had purpose. Over dinner that evening, James actually talked. He told them about his son, what he liked to do, his favorite foods, funny things he used to say. Sarah could see it hurt James to talk about his son, but she could also see it helped. Like Emma said, talking about the hurt made it a little better. Sarah shared her own stories. About Emma as a baby, about the struggles they had faced, about the times she wanted to give up but did not. James listened. Really listened. He asked questions. He seemed genuinely interested. "The part for your car arrives tomorrow," James said after dinner. "I'll install it the next morning. You can leave after that." There was something in his voice. Was it regret? Did he not want them to leave? Or was Sarah imagining it? "We appreciate everything you've done," Sarah said. "You saved us." "I mean that. Without your help, I don't know what would have happened." James nodded. "You would have figured something out. You're stronger than you think." "So are you," Emma said. "You've been surviving out here all alone. That takes strength too." James looked at Emma, then at Sarah. "Maybe. But surviving isn't the same as living." "I've been surviving. You two have been living. There's a difference." That night, as Sarah lay in bed with Emma sleeping beside her, she thought about James's words. He was right. She had been living, not just surviving. Even when things were hard, she found joy. In Emma's smile. In small victories. In the love they shared. James had been surviving, hiding from life because it hurt too much to live it. But maybe, just maybe, they had helped him see that it was possible to live again, even with a broken heart. The car part arrived early the next morning. A delivery truck somehow found its way to James's hidden cabin. The driver looked confused about why anyone would live out here, but he handed over the package and left quickly. James took the part out to Sarah's car. Sarah offered to help, but he waved her away. "This is what I do. Just let me work." It took him most of the morning. Sarah and Emma stayed in the cabin. Emma worked on her carving. She had made a rough shape that was starting to look like a bird. She was proud of it. She showed it to Sarah every few minutes to point out her progress. Around noon, James came back to the cabin. His hands were greasy, but his face looked satisfied. "It's done," he said. "Your car is fixed. Should run fine now. I tested it." "No problems." Sarah felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief that the car was fixed, but also sadness. They would have to leave now. Leave this quiet place. Leave James alone again. "How much do I owe you?" Sarah asked. "For the part and your labor?" "Nothing," James said. "That's not fair. You spent hours fixing it, and you paid for the part." "I don't want your money," James said firmly. "Consider it a gift. I can't accept that." "It's too much." James looked uncomfortable. "Look, I have more money than I need. Insurance money. Money from selling my old house. I don't spend it on anything. I just sit on it. Let me use it for something good, please." Sarah did not know what to say. She felt tears in her eyes again. This man, this broken, lonely man, was giving them something he did not have to give. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know how to thank you enough." "You already did," James said. "You listened. You talked to me. You made me remember what it's like to be around people who care. That's enough." Emma came over and hugged James's legs. He looked startled at first. Then slowly he put his hand on her head. It was an awkward gesture, like he had forgotten how to show affection. But it was genuine. "Can we come visit you sometime?" Emma asked. "After we go home?" James looked at Sarah. Sarah nodded. "If you want us to. We'd like to stay in touch. If that's okay with you." James was quiet for a moment. Sarah could see him thinking, weighing his desire for solitude against something else. The beginning of connection. The possibility of not being completely alone. "Yes," he said finally. "You can visit. Not too often. But sometimes. That would be okay." Sarah wrote down her phone number on a piece of paper. "Call me if you need anything." "Anything at all." "I mean it." James took the paper and put it in his pocket. "I will." They packed up their few things. Sarah made the bed they had slept in. She cleaned up the spare room. She wanted to leave the cabin as neat as they had found it. Actually neater. James walked them out to their car. He had moved it back to the road for them. The engine started up smoothly. No hesitation. No warning lights. It sounded better than it had in months. "Drive safe," James said. "Stop every hour and check the temperature gauge. Should be fine, but check anyway." "I will," Sarah promised. Emma rolled down her window. "Don't forget about me. Don't forget that I'll come back to visit." "I won't forget," James said. There was something soft in his voice. Something that had not been there 3 days ago. They drove away. Sarah looked in the rearview mirror. James stood at the edge of the road watching them go. He raised his hand in a small wave. Then he turned and walked back toward his hidden cabin. "He's going to be okay," Emma said.
He's still sad.
"But he's going to be okay now." "How do you know?" Sarah asked. "Because he's not alone anymore." "Not really." "He knows we care about him. That makes a difference. They made it to Phoenix without any problems. The car ran perfectly. Emma's appointment went well. The doctor was pleased with her progress. He adjusted her medications and scheduled the next appointment for 3 months later. On the drive home, Sarah thought about everything that had happened. How a breakdown in the desert had led them to James. How Emma had somehow known he was there. How a weekend that should have been a disaster had turned into something else, something important. 2 weeks later, Sarah's phone rang. It was a number she did not recognize. "Hello?" She answered. "Sarah, it's James." His voice sounded strange on the phone. Nervous. "James, it's so good to hear from you. How are you?" "I'm okay. Listen, I've been thinking about what Emma said, about how I can't hide from my feelings forever. And I realized something. I can fix cars. I can fix machines. Maybe I should use those skills to help people, instead of hiding from them." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "There's a community center in the nearest town, about 40 miles from me. They help families who don't have much money. Single mothers, elderly people, disabled folks. I called them. They said a lot of their clients need car repairs but can't afford them. I offered to volunteer, fix cars for free. They said yes." Sarah felt joy rising in her chest. "James, that's wonderful. I start next week. 1 day a week at first. We'll see how it goes. If I can handle being around people again." He paused. "I wanted to thank you and Emma for pushing me, for making me see that I was existing, not living. I'm not sure I'm ready to live fully yet, but I'm ready to try." "I'm so proud of you," Sarah said. "Emma will be thrilled when I tell her." "How is Emma?" James asked. "She's good. She talks about you all the time. She keeps her carved bird on her nightstand. She says it reminds her of you." "I made something for her," James said. "Another bird, better than the ones on my shelf. I want to send it to her. If that's okay?" "Of course it's okay. She'll love it." They talked for a few more minutes. Then James said he had to go, but he promised to call again soon. And he did. He called every couple of weeks, sometimes to tell Sarah about the cars he had fixed, sometimes just to chat, sometimes to ask how Emma was doing. 3 months later, Sarah and Emma drove out to visit James. They brought him homemade cookies. Emma brought her carved bird to show him how she had improved it. James gave Emma the new bird he had made for her. It was beautiful, detailed and smooth and perfect. They ate lunch together. James had actually set the table with 3 plates, like he had been expecting them, like he had been looking forward to their visit. They talked and laughed. James told stories about the people he had helped at the community center. How grateful they were, how good it felt to be useful again. "I'm thinking about doing it twice a week," James said. "There's so much need, and I have the time." "That's great," Sarah said. "You're making a real difference in people's lives." "You made a difference in mine," James said, looking at Emma. "You saw me when I thought I was invisible. You cared when I thought no one cared anymore." Over the next year, their friendship grew. Sarah called James when she had car trouble. He talked her through fixing small problems over the phone. When Emma had a health scare, James drove to the city to visit her in the hospital. He brought her a carved wooden dog. Emma kept it with her the whole time she was there. James started coming to the city once a month. He would have dinner with Sarah and Emma. He would help Sarah with repairs around her apartment. He fixed her leaky sink. He repaired her broken window. He became part of their lives. One day, James told them he was thinking about expanding his volunteer work, maybe teaching car repair skills to teenagers, helping them learn a trade. Sarah encouraged him. Emma said he would be a great teacher. "You're patient," Emma said, "like you were with me when you taught me to carve. That's what makes a good teacher." James started a small program at the community center, teaching basic car maintenance to young people. The program was a success. Students loved him. He was tough but fair. He pushed them to learn but never made them feel bad for making mistakes. Sarah saw the change in James. He smiled more. He laughed more. He was still quiet and a bit gruff, but the anger that had surrounded him like a wall was gone. He was living again, not just surviving. One evening, as they sat on Sarah's small balcony watching the sunset, James said something that stayed with Sarah forever. "I thought I was helping you when I fixed your car, but really you and Emma helped me. You showed me that loss doesn't have to mean the end of everything, that it's possible to carry grief and still find joy, that being alone might feel safe, but connecting with people is what makes life worth living." Sarah reached over and squeezed his hand. "We helped each other. That's what people do." Emma knew, James said. "That day when she pointed toward my cabin. She knew I needed help as much as you did." "How did she know?" Sarah looked at her daughter. Emma was drawing in her sketchbook. "Drawing birds as usual." "I don't know," Sarah said. "Emma just knows things sometimes. She has a gift for seeing what people need, for seeing past their defenses to their hearts." James nodded. "She saw that my heart was broken and hiding, and she refused to let me hide. She's a special kid." "Yes, she is," Sarah agreed. Emma looked up from her drawing. "Are you two talking about me?" "We're saying how smart you are," James said. "I'm not that smart," Emma said. "I just pay attention." Most people don't pay attention to each other. They miss things, important things from the mouths of children, Sarah thought. Emma had paid attention in the desert. She had noticed what Sarah missed. She had sensed James's presence even though he was hidden. She had seen his pain even though he tried to hide it. She had refused to accept his loneliness even though he insisted on it. That was Emma's gift. Seeing people. Really seeing them. And once she saw them, she cared about them. It did not matter if they were strangers or friends. If they were kind or grumpy, Emma saw their humanity and responded with compassion. Sarah realized that the breakdown in the desert had been a gift in disguise. It had brought them to James when he needed them most. It had reminded Sarah that helpers come from unexpected places, that community can form in the strangest ways, that sometimes the people we help are actually helping us. James was no longer hiding in the desert. He was engaged with life again. He was using his skills to help others. He was teaching. He was connecting. He was living, and Sarah had a friend, a real friend who understood struggle and loss, someone she could call when things got hard, someone who showed up when she needed help, someone who had become like family. As for Emma, she had gained an honorary grandfather, someone who carved birds for her, someone who taught her new skills, someone who listened to her wisdom and took her seriously even though she was young. The breakdown had been scary, the desert had been dangerous, but walking toward the unknown, trusting Emma's instincts, had led them exactly where they needed to be. To a hidden cabin, to a broken man who needed healing, to a friendship that changed all of their lives. Sarah learned an important lesson that day in the desert. Sometimes the greatest help comes from the most unexpected sources. Sometimes the people who seem the most reluctant to help are actually the ones who need to help the most. And sometimes when everything seems to be falling apart, it is actually falling into place. Emma had known. She had pointed toward hope even when Sarah could not see it. She had insisted on walking toward help even when it seemed crazy. She had trusted her instincts and led them to exactly where they needed to be, and James had answered his door. Even though he wanted to turn them away, even though he was hiding from the world, he had opened his door and let them in. And in doing so, he had let life back in too. 3 lives intersected in the desert that day. 3 people found each other when they all needed finding, and none of them would ever be the same again.